Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and what a delight to have with us today Gerald Pingleton. He is the director for Focus on the Family Counseling Department, and boy, that is one busy department there at Focus on the Family. And we're Skyping him in today from the headquarters there in Colorado Springs, and we had a lot to talk to him about. Hey, Jared, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you.
Good morning, Perry. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, thanks. And by the way, thanks for what you guys do. I don't know how many calls you guys take a month, but it's a ton, isn't it?
Yeah, we work with around 200 to 250 people per day in our department.
Wow. Good for you. Well, you've been, we want to talk to you about the term bless. You've become concerned about this. What is it that's got you on tilt a little bit?
Well, I think the culture just kind of trivializes the concept in a way that is pretty new, yet it's a very old concept. The Bible talks 389 times actually about blessing, blessed, starting in Genesis 1:22, where God blesses the first couple and challenges them and encourages them to be fruitful and multiply. And we've, on TV interviews with sports figures in the culture, I think many times we're seeing now that the term has been kind of co-opted to justify being materialistic, self-centered, basically a sense of entitlement that we deserve blessings. And when you look at Scripture, that's not the case at all.
All right, so looking at Scripture, what does it mean to be blessed?
Well, Psalm 1 is a very famous saying where David begins the Psalms by saying, "Blessed is the man or woman who serves the Lord and follows his counsel and doesn't kind of cave into peer pressure and the cultural kind of drift." Then Jesus, of course, begins the Sermon on the Mount with these 9 attitudes that are beatitudes about how blessed we are when we appropriate godly character into our lives and relationships. So it has to do, I think, biblically with something far deeper, far more profound and important than our culture has kind of trivialized it to become.
All right, it's also, Jared, seen some kind of a renewed use even in secular media. It's being tossed around. What's the danger of that?
Well, I'm not sure it's a danger. Again, I think it's just a watering down of the power of Scripture and the relationship with God, because in the Bible, our blessing comes from Him, not from ourselves, not from our own works, not from in any sense of entitled I deserve this. Rather, it's quite the opposite. It's an attitude of humility. It's a connection with Him. It's a sense of God bestowing His favor upon His children when they obey and serve Him.
Have we materialized it? I mean, I think we've trivialized it, but have we materialized it?
I think so. I think we think that blessings has to do with the size of our bank account or the size of our house or the size of our investment portfolio in ways that I don't think is heavenly at all. I think the blessings from heaven have to do with feelings of peace, security, love, grace, mercy, being the recipient of God's divine calling and favor upon us. So I think those are much, much more expensive than materialistic kinds of, again, watering down or even distortions or perversions of what God intends for His children.
Wow, that's powerful. Jared, I'm wondering, do you think there is a interest or an understanding of what it is to pass the blessing on? You see that in the Bible from one generation to another. Have we lost sight of that and we've lost the meaning of that?
I think so. I think in large part our culture has, because those attributes of the patriarchal blessing to which you're referring are very, very powerful psychologically. I'm a clinical psychologist as well as a minister, and those senses of acceptance of from one human to another, particularly a father figure or a parent figure to the child, is so important for their self-esteem development, for their identity formation, for their relationships, to where there's that sense of connection and bonding that is so powerful in an attachment with people who love us. So yes, I think in many ways we've lost a lot of the power and the meaning of blessing our children.
What would you like to see us do with that? It seems to me we're missing an opportunity in the American family to bring that about.
I think so. I would love us to dive back into Scripture and challenge pastors maybe to do word studies or topical studies on blessing and what it means, and that this is a wonderful thing that does include material gifts. That's not excluding them, but it's so much more than them. The gifts are sort of the result of being in right relationship with God, not necessarily the cause of it. And so I think that would be one thing we could do, would be to drive this back to Scripture to really dig into and understand the meaning and the power and the impact of what blessing is about.
You know, Jared, we use this word so often, especially in Christianity. I mean, we just throw it about. We say, God bless you, blessings, all of these things. I mean, I sign off on a lot of my emails with the word blessing.
Right.
And I understand what you're trying to say here, but maybe we ought to stop and say, hey, wait a minute. What are we doing with this? You know, what's behind this?
Well, don't sneeze, because people say, God bless you when you sneeze, or Gesundheit, I guess German derivation of that. So again, I don't see anything necessarily wrong with focusing on blessing as long as we're connecting that to the source, which is God the Father, loving his children in ways that he chooses to bestow loving mercies and blessings upon them.
Wow. I want to focus on the family for a moment and what you do there. Tell us a little bit about your department, because you mentioned 250 contacts a day. That's a lot.
It really is. Yeah, I oversee an awesome team of 16 licensed mental health professionals, and we make telephone consults to people who call in with problems in their marriage, with depression, with struggles, with addictions, all manner of human and relational problems, and we then work with them and pray with them, and often refer them out, about 65,000 people per year, to people on our 1,800 member national referral network of Christian mental health professionals across the country.
Wow. Is there a theme you see in the requests for help?
No, there's not. It's everything from A to Z, everything you can imagine with human relationship and mental health problems and struggles we deal with every day. We deal with acute suicidality, child abuse, things we have to report to local authorities to be able to intervene and help with, but we see a lot of brokenness. We deal with human pain in the deepest ways imaginable.
You know what's so interesting about that, Jared, is I would assume most of your calls are from believers.
Yes.
And so it shows that the church has got a lot of issues. And are we ministering correctly?
Yes and no. We do have a lot of issues, and I'm reminded of the old bumper sticker, Christians aren't perfect, just forgiven. Yet, I think as we're salt and light, we should be a hospital for sinners, not a museum for saints. Right. So I'm very comfortable with us reaching out to the hurting and the broken, because I think that's part of the mission of Christ. And that's what we're about here, and attempting to fulfill a small part of that.
Wow. Well, Jared, thanks for what you do. Everybody there at Focus on the Family, give them our best from all of us here at the Dove. We appreciate partnering with you guys, and keep up the good work, my friend.
All right. God bless you, Perry.
Okay. I will take that for its full meaning. All right. And FocusOnTheFamily.com is the website. Go there if you need any help. And again, tremendous resource with Jared and his team. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Welcome back. Always a delight to have in the studio with us Paul Coughlin. He is the president and the founder of The Protectors, and he's actually one of my surrogate sons. I can slap him around, tell him what to do, and put him on probation and get away with it.
That's true. And you've grounded me.
I've grounded you.
Last week I was grounded, so I couldn't play outside.
No. Anyway, good to see you, buddy. How are you?
I'm good.
The Protectors, for those who don't know, tell us what you do.
Anti-bullying organization, started out faith-based only. Within 3 months, we had more requests to speak in public schools than private schools. So we're unique in the United States, and where we work in private Christian schools. I was just down in Panoma working with St. Damien. Was in Little Rock, working with Little Rock Christian Academy last week, and we just diminish bullying wherever it takes place. Public school, private school, Sunday school, you'd be blown away how much bullying takes place, and Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, wherever.
You know, the subject is big, and you have brought great attention to it. Even some national advertisers are getting into it. I don't know if you saw the one Nissan ad during the Super Bowl had a reference to bullying.
It sure did.
And the father came and protected the child and got him out of the situation. Of course, you never know you're watching a Nissan commercial. It was a spot about fathering and anti-bullying, and then it was ended up being a Nissan commercial.
Yeah, you know, Perry, it's a no-brainer. I am surprised that more companies don't jump on board. I mean, it's a win-win. No one wants bullying. To be one of those organizations, and particularly a corporate sponsor, most schools don't have a budget to really effectively deal with bullying. And so they need organizations to come in and help them. Well, that's what happened in Little Rock. It was an attorney, 3 attorneys came together and sponsored our work in that area, and they actually want us to return to work with the private schools, or public schools now. Wow. So it's a no-brainer for corporations to get on board and diminish what is now the #1 form of child abuse in the nation. #1 form. In some ways, it's accelerated. Oh, it has to have. Yeah, you know, in our movement, there is this statistic that 160,000 kids stay home from school each day. That's roughly around 12 million a year. And that statistic was taken in the early 1990s before cyberbullying. I don't know if that number is twice that number, but it is certainly larger than that. It's hard to say for sure how many kids are being bullied and the increase, but it's probably safe to say that with cyberbullying, it is increasing.
All right. Even though it may be increasing, the awareness of it has also increased. And more people are stepping up and stepping out.
You know what? We're seeing that in our work, and of course that's what we do. We go into organizations, and our main thing is to get that bystander who's often conflicted. They want to help that target, but they're scared to death to help that target. So we help bystanders do the right thing afraid. We help them become what we call alongside standers. And the reason for that is that most studies show that they have the most potential power to change bullying, but only about 13% will actually help the target. 40 to 60% will actually help the bully in one way or another, and that's because cruelty is currency in youth culture. Cruelty is currency in Christian youth culture. It's probably not as much. So you're going to have it in Christian schools as well. But we certainly, what we want to do is make moral courage or civic courage currency. And so we get to see this. We get to see these bystanders become alongside standers. And so at least in the areas that we work, we get to see an increase.
Where is it most prominent? Is it middle school? Is it corporate America? Is it high school, college? Where is it? I mean, I know it's at all those levels, but do you see one area greater than another?
Yeah, well, statistically, they'll tell you that it spikes in grades 4 through 9. And so that is ground zero of bullying. So the end of elementary school and pretty much all of middle school, that's the Lord of the Flies, boy, what these kids do to one another. Wow. And why is it? Is because to be unkind, to be mean, and even cruel to another kid is currency. Studies show, they've asked middle schoolers, UCLA did this in February of 2013. They asked middle schoolers who are the most popular, and then they said who are the bullies. And they almost completely aligned. They were almost identical lists.
Really?
So to be awful to another kid, not only do you rise in social status, you can maintain social status. So how do you fix that? We adults have to change that currency. We adults are the ones who have to say to our kids, that is wrong. When we see it on television, when we hear our kids be demeaning in language and behavior toward other kids, we have to call them on the carpet and say, everyone is made in the image of God. All of us have dignity, value, and worth. No one has the right to take that away from another person.
Wow. You used the word currency.
I know.
Explain that.
Well, it is. I mean, it's like money. It really is like money. Is that if I want to be popular in a room, and particularly if I want to dominate that class, I will go after a kid who a bully's not looking for a fight. They're looking to overwhelm, and so I'll look for a kid who I'm pretty sure won't push back, and I will. They call it scoring points. I'll go after that person, usually with words, and I'll demean them and say horrible things to them. And the other kids in the class will find that amusing. They'll find it funny. They'll admire me because we're mistaking the difference between power and strength. I'm using raw power to dominate and control another person, but that's not strength. Strength is when people take innate abilities and they use it for good. We're not making that distinction, unfortunately, as a nation. And it's going to be adults who have to change it. We can't, kids need to be saved from themselves, Perry. We adults have to change this dynamic.
All right, the subtlety of bullying, it's in all the sitcoms.
Yeah.
It's some kind of a put down, it's some kind of a demeaning thing, and they showcase it in humor, and somehow we've accepted that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and we're getting into a little murky area now. It's the difference between teasing and taunting, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
you have 2 boys, I have 2 boys, and I've got a daughter and a wife. And I've had to explain to Sandy and Abigail that boys tease the ones they love, right? And so teasing is good-natured. Both people are laughing. It's about something that the person can change. Taunting is not good-natured. It's designed to harm the other person. The other person isn't laughing. So certainly one of the best ways to attack another person is through veiled domination and control, through sarcasm, which has its place in this world. We just have to be careful how we use it.
All right, so when you go into a school and you meet with the administration first, or you meet with the students, how do you do this?
Yeah, usually we meet with 3 groups. We meet with students. Most people think that that's the most important gathering, and it's an important gathering, but it isn't the most important one. We meet with faculty, usually do faculty training, overcome a lot of myths, help teachers better identify bullies, and then how to better handle them. How to help targets is a big one as well. And then the third group is parents. They actually have the most power. Parents need to change how they parent, not just targets. Usually many targets will be non-assertive, and that can come from over-parenting, but usually on behalf of the mom. The parenting of the bully tends to be coercive, so the bully is just doing what they saw at home. Well, how do you get your will? You just are coercive toward other people. Also, bullies tend to be very arrogant, and their parents tend to be arrogant as well. But then what we really need to change is the parent of the bystander. We need to expect our child to do something life-affirming when they see bullying take place. And that is really what's going to change bullying, because, Perry, it's not a school problem. It is a cultural problem. We need to change the culture.
Do most parents recognize it?
No. No, I mean, I would say most parents in regard to the target, most parents in regard to the bully and to the bystander, it's usually not on their radar unless their child becomes a target. Then it becomes very important.
Because most kids won't go home and say I'm being bullied. They'll go home and lock themselves in the room.
Yeah, and they'll believe in a kind of superstition, Perry, and you can see why, but they just want to click their heels 3 times like Dorothy and just make it all go away.
Yeah.
I mean, Perry, we've had people who work for the protectors who find out on their last day of school for their child that their child was bullied the entire school year.
Whoa.
Because only about 10% of abuse victims ever talk, and whether that's abuse through bullying, sexual abuse, you name the abuse. Roughly, only about 10% ever talk about their experience. Most live in a kind of quiet desperation.
They internalize it. I do know that. I mean, we have other ministries around the valley here. I'm thinking of the Loft and others where they're dealing with young girls and guys. But when a kid is bullied, they just slowly begin to shut down, and you don't see those signs. They become recluse.
Yeah, they do. That little light, that little spirit that they have, they were once so happy to go to school, right? And they just don't have that desire anymore. In fact, they're coming up with these telltale signs will be these mystery illnesses. These kids are feeling horrible inside. Their stomachs really are killing them. Some are throwing up before school begins on the front lawn. That's how sometimes board members will find out about it. Why is that kid throwing up in the front of the school? He's probably being bullied. Just signs of depression, either sleeping too much, sleeping too little, eating too much, eating too little, outbursts of anger from a kid who just wasn't that way before. These kids are bullying of siblings that they didn't, do that before.
Jumping ahead, and I'll come back. Is it true that there is a link on some of these school shootings and those who perpetrate that they were bullied?
The Secret Service interviewed 37 school shooters, asked them why they did it. 85% of them, almost all of them, said they did it because as revenge against bullying. The Secret Service said that it met the legal definition of harassment and the moral definition of torment. Perry, these kids are being tormented. They're being tormented for other people's pleasure and entertainment and status. And I just gave you part of the definition of sadism. Bullying, hardcore bullying, serial bullying is sadistic. These kids go on to commit crime later in life statistically.
Well, we're seeing it on an international scale.
We sure are.
With terrorism.
And we're seeing a pretty anemic response to some of it as well.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Perry, serial bullies do not listen much to peace, love, and understanding. We wish they would, but they don't. To be gracious to a serial bully, we need to extend grace to people. I mean, we're a Christian radio television station, I know. And we do need to extend grace. We need to extend love, but it's not going to look like love to a serial bully. They listen to power and consequences. What's in it for me to change? So you have to speak to a bit more of a selfish nature, because by and large, your average bully is very arrogant. It's really hubris in a young body. So you kind of have to, dealing with a very arrogant person is going to be very different than dealing with a very humble person.
Does the bullier know psychologically what they're doing, or they are just operating off the euphoric feeling that they get by being superior?
Oh, that's very insightful. It depends on the bully. A acute bully. A lot of people, if you look back on your time in school, I know I bullied. I did it with words. Imagine that, with sarcasm, and I learned it.
I know. I grounded you for doing that.
You've been grounding me for decades, Barry. I did it. I was really good with sarcasm. I learned it from a family member, and I did it in high school. And so, if people are honest, we've all experimented. We put the ring on in Lord of the Rings. The ring represents dark power. We've all put that ring on every once in a while. Most of us take it off. Serial bullies, they're like the dog that got the chicken. Once they got a taste of that, the thrill and all that, the pleasure, they can't stop. They just keep going. So I think that most of them know they're being pretty awful to another person, but there is fun in sin for a season. There's pleasure in sin for a season. Right. It's pleasurable. Yeah. Do most of them know the outcome of the misery they're doing to the other person? I don't think they do. Okay. A minority does, and they don't care. The majority would care more if they knew more, but you have to be careful with that.
All right. I think this is also something I want to get into after the break. Christians that are involved in this may not know it, or they just feel the need to be superior. I'm seeing it in corporate America. I'm seeing bosses manage this way. And we're watching people just go, and go out the back door. Yeah. And I'm sure you've spoken to that. The other thing I want to ask you when we get back, if somebody is caught in hardcore bullying, which would be, I guess, in the category of sadistic and maybe even abuse, what should be the consequences? Do we just spank them and say, don't do that? Or do we do something to these people to stop it? We'll be right back with Paul Coughlin and the Protectors in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on the Dove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
All right, we're back with Paul Coughlin, and he is the president and founder of the Protectors, and it's a group that goes into secular schools, or public schools, I should say, as well as faith-based schools, and deals with the subject of protectors. He also deals with it in the culture and corporate America. A lot of questions here, Paul. But in the glorification of violence, does that play into the picture at all?
It sure does. I mean, we really are a culture that glorifies violence. There's no doubt about it. We're doing it for a long time.
We're not outraged by violence anymore.
No, we're not. We're more outraged by a sex scene, particularly within the church, right? A sex scene, oh my goodness, well, but the killing of 300 people, well, you know,
yeah.
I don't know, I guess it's predestined.
Yeah.
I've never quite understood that. I don't think I'll ever understand that, and I don't want to understand it.
Yeah.
But we do. I think, for example, Gordon Ramsay of Hell's Kitchen,
yeah.
He gets paid $225,000 an episode, in part by searing the psychological flesh from another person. According to Forbes, he's worth an estimated $50 million. And he has done this. You could go to YouTube and you can just type in his name. You'll see some of the most disgusting clips from this person. And he's wealthy beyond description. Adults are making him wealthy through his horrible behavior, and we think it's funny.
All right. What should we do when a bullier is caught red-handed? In other words, it's gone on too far, you caught them, they don't care. How in the world do you treat that, and what would be the consequences?
It's a great question, because the three vocations where bullying could be the worst, the effects are going to be nursing, education, and ministry.
Say that again.
Nursing, education, and ministry.
Really?
Because all three attract a nurturing personality, right? And the nurturing personality believes that the bully has low self-esteem, and that if we can just help them build up their inner butterfly, that they'll fly to new heights, right? This is what we've been told. It is pseudo-psychology. In reality, most bullies have average to excessive self-esteem. Your average bully, on average, is arrogant. They're full of themselves. They believe other people are below them. Well, how do you reach such a person? Hard, consistent consequences. And sequestering them, getting rid of them. Most bullies are not interested. Most serial bullies are not interested in change. Most serial bullies want other people to change. Most serial bullies do not believe they need to change. And so they're very difficult people to reach. The ultimate answer is humility. Hard thing to bring to an arrogant person. Usually, as the scriptures say, they're around for a while, and then the next day they're gone. They're like the grass that withers and blows away. They often need to run their own course. Usually, money. If you could take money away from them, that would mean a lot. That gets their attention.
So they feel no shame about damaging a person?
Well, what they've probably done, Perry, if they're a serial bully, as opposed to an acute bully. And if we're talking about adults now,
right.
In Romans, Paul writes about people who have seared their own consciousness.
Right.
And so they're in that category. Now they're never going to come out and say, I'm a serial. They're not going to tattoo on their forehead, I'm superior to you.
Yeah.
But their behavior does. How they look at people with their eyes, their body language, the words they use and don't use, these have all been studied.
Wow.
And they pretty much think they're the sharpest tool in the shed. Therefore, other people deserve their horrible treatment. They are above the herd. Other people are below them. Therefore, whatever they say, it goes because they are so important. This is how they view themselves.
All right. Back to, is it the 4th grade through the 9th grade?
Yeah. Ground zero.
Well, all right, ground zero. And that's when you are trying to figure out who you are as a person. You're probably going through puberty.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of peer pressure.
Trying on personalities.
Yeah, all that is racing on at the same time. And you're being bullied. The first thing you do is internalize it. You shut down.
You do. You believe usually there's lies associated with this. They'll say, you're stupid, even when you're not.
Yeah.
They'll say no one likes you, even though that's not true. There's plenty of people who like them.
Yeah.
But Perry, they just repeat these lies over and over and over. And eventually, even the strongest among us, over time, usually succumb to it. And then there's one thing that gets even worse. It's called the bullying mentality. Kids who would normally never bully begin to bully if it continues on for a long period of time.
Is that the defense mechanism or what?
In part, they're pretty happy. Well, they're not happy. They feel very fortunate that someone else is being bullied and it's not them.
Oh.
At least all that negative stuff is going towards someone else, so it won't come toward me, which isn't true.
They just add to it then.
Yeah, there's a short story called "The Painted Bird" in Poland during just before World War II, and they would take a bird, a crow, paint on its wings and let it go, and others would peck at it because it was different. So if that other person is the painted bird, well, so be it, because that's not going to happen to me.
So it becomes a defense mechanism. What do you say to parents who may suspect their kids are being bullied?
Yes, what you need to do is document to the best of your ability. And I need to make sure that it's bullying, that it's not conflict. Bullying is the superior use of power with the intention to harm another person over time and for no good reason. It is victimization without provocation. A kid will tell you they're being bullied, but when you look into it further, he's been yapping as well. I mean, it's two people roughly of equal strength going at each other, usually verbal, not physical. So you need to find out whether it's bullying to begin with. Once you know it's bullying, you need to tell your child, and I've done this with all three of my kids, I just need to know. It doesn't mean I'm going to do anything about it, because maybe the best answer is nothing. And sometimes it's true. Mm-hmm. Maybe that kid just had a bad day. You don't know. But you know what? I just need to know. I need to know if there's a pattern of behavior. And then say to your child, once we establish this pattern of behavior, we can decide together when we will go to the school and tell the school. Why do you do this? Is because they don't want to talk. So you have to make it easy for them to talk. They just don't want to. They're so full of self-recrimination, Perry. It's very awful.
Is this an international problem? In other words, is it regulated to third worlds? Does it get into, besides first worlds? I mean, well, I see you've taken it to Africa.
Yeah, we were in Tanzania, and representatives from Uganda came to that trip. It is everywhere. It is ubiquitous. Wherever 10 or more kids gather, statistically, there could be bullying. It's amazing over there, for example, of albino children who are born albino will have their hands cut off, even their legs or their feet cut off because they're different. And it also includes some degree of superstition and witchcraft, some issues there. But it is certainly everywhere humans gather, there'll be bullying because, Perry, there's something extremely pleasurable about dominating and controlling another person. And some people, to them, it's electrifying. They just love it.
So it's the unregenerated spirit. I mean, the real cure to this is, conversion to Christ. I mean, taking on the Christ-like nature instead of the man nature.
Let me give you an example.
I mean, Paul dealt with it in Romans 7,
He sure did. There's a young lady named Alex Moore in Jameson, Alabama. On May 12, 2010, jumped from an overpass over I-65. She jumped around 7 a.m. She was called names I can't repeat on television. She was overweight, so you can only imagine what they said to her.
Yeah.
2 weeks before she committed suicide, or some people call bullycide, a young man named Brandon came up to her and said, "I'm in gym class, and I'm sorry for what I said to you, what I've been saying to you. I've become a Christian, and I now know that what I've been doing is wrong. And I hope that you can forgive me." Wow. 2 weeks later, she took her life. Brandon cleared his conscience that day. Cleared his conscience. So I've looked into this story, Perry.
Wow.
I can't find anyone else in that community.
Wow.
No one else in that community who's gone up and apologized to her for their horrible behavior. So for all the bad rap that religion gets, and it deserves part of a bad rap, it does. You know what? It's still making people do things. It's leading people to do things they normally never would do unless they knew God was watching and He cared.
All right, so bully's been around since the beginning of time.
Cain and Abel, probably?
Yeah. Yeah, well, there you go. But it's now front and center in so many ways. I'm hearing radio commercials. Today in gym, I learned that I was stupid. In science, I learned that I was fat. You know, in history, I learned that I was a nobody. Have you heard those spots?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
I mean, they're very powerful spots. They're public service announcement spots dealing with the subject of bullying. This is what I learned in school today.
Yeah.
And your heart just stops and thinking, my stars, what are we doing? What's happening?
One of the best ways for parents to try to ensure their child will not be bullied or not be a serial target, because most of us will get bullied from one time or another, is friendships. Friendships are the front line of defense. I've often likened it, and my wife came up with a program called Balcony Girls. It was designed in part to help girls forge friendships in the schools that they're going to be going off to in middle school as well as high school. And I kind of look at it as a special ops group of kids, right, where you just need like 3 to 5 people around you, and you have each other's back, where you're able to buffer that horrible behavior on behalf of other people. And then when your child is told these lies, that they get that bolstering from their friends right away. It's like an antidote to an illness. Friendships.
Well, I want to say to our viewers and listeners, Paul can come to your church or to your organization, speak at your service club. Go to theprotectors.org, probably the best way to connect and see all of the curriculum that's there and available. But you're all over the country. I don't know how you're cloning yourself these days. What are you doing?
We do have a DVD program, which is me talking from a state. I think it was in Nashville. And so, yeah, we have that. Okay. Anyway, theprotectors.org is the best way to get a hold of them. But big topic. And Paul, I'm just amazed how God's using you and what's going on here. But your efforts are getting through, and the antidote to all of this is taking place out there. Well, thank you. You played a big role, Perry, so thank you.
I'll keep you grounded the rest of your life. Good to see you, friend.
Nice to see you.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market. But at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Welcome back, and delighted to have with us today Rich Wyatt. Maybe you have seen him or heard him speak before, but he's going to be the keynote speaker with the upcoming Lincoln Day dinner in Grants Pass, which is coming up February 6th. And we'll give you some information in a moment if you want to get tickets to go to that. He is also the star of the American Guns and the owner of Gunsmoke Guns. And we're delighted to Skype him in from his shop today. Hi, Rich. How you doing, friend?
I'm well, Perry. How are you? Thanks for having us on today.
Oh, yeah. Great. Thank you. Well, first of all, welcome to Southern Oregon when you get here. What are you going to be talking about at the Lincoln Day dinner?
You know, we're just going to be talking about things that are American as apple pie and what we need to do to get our country back on track, and, you know, talking a little bit about reality TV. I heard you just talking on your last interview about Gordon Ramsay, and those are the kind of things that make you a superstar on TV, but the kind of things that the Wyatt family wouldn't do when we had our show American Guns on Discovery.
Well, you've been doing pretty well with that. How's it going?
It's going good. We've got another show out now called Modern Shooter on Sportsman's Channel. And our show, Perry, is about buying, selling, building guns, building some wild guns, and teaching people how to shoot guns. And our instructional staff here at Gunsmoke, we like to say, you know, we don't just teach you how to shoot guns, we build Americans. And that's what our country needs. The National Rifle Association was put into place so they could teach people how to shoot. And shooting is such a piece of Americana and our history that our country will never be without guns. Every conflict we've been in was fought and won with guns. The West was won with guns. And so they're just an important thing. And so we want to get out and tell everybody about that and kind of break down that stereotypical view that guns are bad, because guns don't cause violence, people do.
How did you get the shop? How did you end up with Gunsmoke Guns?
You know, Perry, in 8th grade in English class, which I wasn't a good student, a teacher, Mr. Goad, motivated me to write a report about what I wanted to do. And this gun shop was what I wanted to do. And so I left Connecticut and I moved west to Colorado, went to gunsmithing school, and we started this program right here at Gunsmoke. And it's been a lifelong dream and something fantastic to do.
Well, that's wonderful. I understand you make guns from scratch right there, right?
We can take a block of steel and or aluminum or brass and make it into a gun, and that's a lot of fun. I never thought I'd be to that level, but here we are. And we just take a CNC milling machine, and that's a little above my head because I'm not really a computer guy. And they program in the coordinates, and the cutters just do their business, and by the time they're done, you got a pistol laying there, or a rifle, or whatever you need.
I understand you're bringing one of those with you to the event. Did we lose him? Oh, sorry about that. All right, tell you why they reconnect. Let me give you this. He is going to be speaking at the Josephine County Lincoln Day dinner coming up the 6th, which is when? Friday? Yeah, I guess it is. And here's the number if you want to get a ticket, 541-231-9564. Again, that's 541-231-9564. And if you want to get a ticket to the event, I understand that Rich is bringing one of his guns, and it'll be part of the raffle that evening. And hopefully we can get reconnected with him because I want to talk to him a little bit about the Second Amendment. But anyway, coming up on the 6th this week, excuse me, I got to get these counties right. That will be the Josephine County Lincoln Day dinner. And he really is a great communicator and a great speaker. So you may want to check it out, 541-231-9564. 9564. We'll take a quick break and we'll see if we can get him on the phone. So ask him a couple more questions. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of a Skype dropout, but we got Rich back on the phone with us. And again, Rich Wyatt will be the guest speaker coming up on the 6th this week at the Josephine County Lincoln Day dinner. And if you want to get a ticket to go to that, 541-231-9564. And Rich, sorry about that. Hey, are you bringing a special gun out for the event?
I am. I'm bringing a special gun out. We're going to offer that gun as a fundraiser for the Lincoln Day dinner and the Republicans there in Oregon. And in addition, they're going to be able to come to Colorado with us and attend a 3-day pistol class, stay on our ranch out there, and just have a wonderful time. I love the Lincoln Day dinners, and I'm looking forward to people being there. Joshua Robinson, who you can call to get tickets, is also having a private VIP meet and greet from 4 to 5:30 before that at the Top Rock restaurant, and we're going to have a great time. And I just love to go out and meet the fans and the people that enjoy watching our show. And we've done a lot of different TV shows, and it's just a great time and something that this is a way. I've been such good friends with the Robinsons for so many years. Yeah. Of course, we met them by teaching them how to shoot and building them guns. That Oregon feels like a second home to us.
Well, good for you. And thanks again for what you're doing and making available there. Hey, listen, before we run out of time, give us your update on the Second Amendment fight. As you know, we've seen this come and go in Congress. And it's interesting, I think part of the 2010 turnover or 2012 turnover was because of the Second Amendment fight. Every time this comes up, the liberals lose. You think we're still secure with the Second Amendment?
The Second Amendment's at risk every day, and all it takes for evil to triumph is good men to do nothing. And so if we get out and fight, I know here in Colorado we recalled 3 senators over the gun issue this last time, and that's unheard of. It's never happened before. We turned over and we took back control of the Senate, but we still have a Democrat governor. And so we've got to work on this every day. And those of you that aren't doing anything about it are doing a disservice to the country, because our Second Amendment is the backbone, it's liberty's teeth of our Constitution. Without the Second, of course, we have no First. And so people have to get out and support it and realize that your stereotypical view of guns, that they're bad, is so ridiculous. It's like it's like blaming a tool for somebody's evil act, and that's all a gun is, a tool. I've carried a gun every day of my adult life and only done good with it. I'm a retired chief of police, and it's there to help people. And anytime we look at a tool and say a tool is evil, people don't blame cars for DUIs or spoons for Rosie O'Donnell being fat. She made herself fat, and people drink and drive, and that causes accidents. The guns by themselves are demonized, and we can't do that anymore. So we've got to get up, stand up strong, on our back feet, pull up our bootstraps, and fight for the Second Amendment and America.
Handgun sales have skyrocketed. Concealed permits have skyrocketed. That's got to tell you something.
Well, it does, and of course, it's a two-pronged issue to that. For the first time in history, we got on international TV showing guns in a positive light, and we're proud to be the people that did that here at Gunsmoke. And that, just like the chopper boom when the chopper shows came out on Discovery, was part of it. But then the next part was the politics of the current administration that have not been favorable towards guns. And anytime somebody wants to take away, anytime I go someplace and somebody says, you can't bring your gun in here, immediately I think, what would you want to do to me that you need to take my gun away from me first? You see, because with my gun, I'm a free man in control of my environment. And without it, I'm handicapped.
Powerful. Hey, listen, before we run out of time, reality television, how's it changed your life? And did you ever think you'd be on TV at that level?
I never thought we'd be on TV. It is a total game changer. You have to be very, very cautious. Be careful what you wish for because you might get it. They have a propensity to want to do things that aren't necessarily what you should do, and you have to stand strong and not cave into those things. You saw the people at Duck Dynasty and our people here at American Guns, and we wouldn't do those things, but other people have. I now watch TV with a little bit of a gilded eye, and I see what's really going on behind the scenes. Wow. and what they want to do. But it's powerful. TV is a powerful medium, and people get their education there. They live in 30-second sound bites, and they don't dig deep to find out the truth. So I would encourage everybody. Perry, I hope you're going to be at this event Friday night. I'm really looking forward to it. And my favorite part will be the meet and greet from 4 to 5:30, because that's where you really get a chance to say hello to the people and talk about the things that they want to know about, and they can get the backstories of what's really going on.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks for working with us a little bit this morning on the technical challenge. God bless you, my friend. We'll see you out here in a couple of days, and look forward to it. And keep up the good work, my friend.
You too, sir. Thanks, and I really look forward to meeting you and your staff. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you. All right, again, that's coming up the 6th, and you can get a ticket to the event, 541-231-9564, and that's coming up this week, February 6th, the Josephine County Lincoln Day Dinner. Get a ticket. You'll enjoy it. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.